Kansas City, known for its fountains, music, and barbecue, is now getting a reputation for something else. Sporting KC and soccer has become part of the city's identity. Tonight, Kansas City will host the MLS All-Star Game, where the best the league has to offer come together to protect the crest against one of the world's top clubs. This year, premier Serie A side Roma and their American midfielder Michael Bradley provide the opposition against the All-Stars and the passionate fan base that will fill Sporting Park to the brim. It's Major League Soccer's annual summer showpiece event where a collection of the league's premier talent look to repel the invasion of one of the big names of world football, the AT&T MLS All-Star Game. The All-Stars taking on Roma of the Serie A. This week, the game has been the feature attraction, but it has shared the marquee with the city itself. Welcome into our pregame along with Alejandro Moreno, Casey Keller, Alexi Lalas. I am Max Bredos. And if you were fortunate enough here to be from the beginning of the week, you would have been blown away with how this city has accepted this All-Star Game. And Alexi, it's something you would have never expected to see from Kansas City just a few years ago.
Max, an All-Star Game is about a party. It's a big old party. You can attest to that after the last couple of days.
On occasion.
So what is this party celebrating? Well, one major thing it's celebrating is this team and what this team has done, the transition of this team. In the early days of MLS, we often talked about relevancy. The early days of the Kansas City Wizards, they were irrelevant. Sporting KC is completely relevant in this town. Not just the stadium, but the brand, the way that people think about this team. It is relevant when you walk down the street, the media, the way they treat it. All of these different things have combined to make an absolute change, and part of that is what we are celebrating here today.
Yeah, you think of where this team was, you said, a few years ago. The building of this stadium has now given them an identity to not only be able to host all-star games like this with a big team like Roma, to bring in World Cup qualifying games, to give that U.S. an advantage in trying to qualify. This is now a place where soccer in America looks at and says, this is fun. This is where we want to be.
Like your hometown.
Exactly.
Listen, there's great ambiance, great environment in this stadium. Certainly way, way away from Arrowhead Stadium and the things that we experience as players in Major League Soccer. But the fact of the matter is, after all the appearances, after all the events that the players have attended, they now have a job to do, and that is to represent Major League Soccer very well against a tough team in Roma.
The concerts are over. Time now to play some soccer. And there's no David Beckham in Major League Soccer. Landon Donovan is on the bench, but there is a great crew of all-stars looking to defend the crest, including, Alexi, a couple guys that call Kansas City home.
Absolutely. Graham Zusi, you mentioned Landon Donovan. A lot of people think that he's the heir apparent to Landon Donovan. And he has done all of his work over the last couple of years and become not only a figure domestically, but internationally, playing in front of this home crowd. It's going to be fun to see him here.
Well, yeah, you look at this lineup, you see the stacked full of offensive players, but there's going to be some defensive guys that they're going to have to look out for. Home guys, Beasler and Collin, are going to have to keep a very attack-minded Roma under control, and of course you got the legend Thierry Henry up front.
Yeah, and Thierry Henry, when he wants to, he's as physically gifted player as this league has ever had. The problem is when he wants to. Tonight is prime time. I expect Thierry Henry to have a big game.
The lights are bright, and he learned a lesson last year. Thierry Henry had this to say about how Major League Soccer is viewed overseas from the opponent, Chelsea, in 2012.
For the league, it is very important if we can perform against a team like Roma, like we did against Chelsea last year. I mean, I was saying early on to some of your colleagues from the other press, I was like, at the end of the game against Chelsea, we won, but that wasn't too much the result of the game that I liked after the game. What I liked after the game is John Terry, Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole came up to me and said to me, oh, wow, you guys can play.
Pretty refreshing to hear that from one of the big stars of world football, and that will certainly trickle down to the guys, the homegrown players like Graham Zusi, who, like Sporting Kansas City, came from humble beginnings.
Yeah, I spent some time this week with Graham Zusi. I actually watched the Gold Cup final with Graham Zusi. He wasn't a part of that team, and I think he was a little conflicted watching it. Yes, he wants the team to win, but he wants to be a part of it. But make no doubt about it, Graham Zusi is a part of the national team, part of Jurgen Klinsson's plans going forward. It's fun to watch this guy mature, and it's fun to talk to him because he has grand expectations. He wants to be on that World Cup team next summer, and he wants to play in Europe eventually. Well, he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll get both.
Great to see this guy develop, and he has continued to get better as his career has gone on?
Well, that's the key, and something Jurgen Klinsmann's trying to do is he's trying to implement a whole new level of professionalism throughout not only the national team, but to have that filter down into MLS so that more players are ready to come through. I think we've seen a very good bleeding of players into the national team over the last year and a half, and Graham Zusi's been one of those that has really risen to the top.
When Jurgen Klinsmann opens up the pool of players, it's because you're looking for players like Graham Zusi, like Matt Beasler. These guys have responded, and now they're a big part of the national team.
Both feature, and particularly Zusi, you said the heir apparent of Landon Donovan. You don't get a lot of American players who play that way in the creative sense. Zusi, a breath of fresh air. The opponent, a big one for Marco Di Vaio, one of the MLS All-Stars. He played in the Serie A. He's Italian. He used to play for Roma's rival Lazio. He wants to win.
Well, it's really key for Di Vaio. You got a guy that's come in from Italy and a little bit older, but he's shown that if you work hard, you do the right things, and your quality will show through. Big, big reason why Montreal are having such a much better season than the season before.
And let's not forget about it. Marco Di Vaio is 37 years old, but his movement of the ball is very sharp. And when he gets on the end of crosses, usually ends up in the back of the net.
He's enjoying a great year, and Montreal hope that continues into the playoffs, but right now he'd like to beat Roma. This team has had success in the Serie A. They've been the bridesmaid many times, and it's been a great place for Michael Bradley, the pride of New Jersey, to land in, and like you, Alexi, played in Italy and excelling.
Listen, this guy's nothing like me. This guy is a phenomenon. This is not just a good American player playing in Serie A. This is just a good player who happens to be American, and it's been wonderful to watch his progression, to watch his evolution from being an MLS player, going over in Europe, having success everywhere he went, but getting better every single way he went.
As we look at the Roma players, Casey, a couple of Roman players, homegrown, true and true, that will be playing alongside Mr. Bradley.
Yeah, a couple huge guys. You know, I was kind of joking with Brian McBride the other day about De Rossi, who gave him a good elbow in 2006, that I wanted to give him a little bit of a smack for him. But in saying that, this is a huge quality team. Totti has come in 10 pounds lighter than he did when he left the season. He's focused and ready to go.
And Daniele De Rossi is as important a player as Roma has on the field. 90 caps for the Italian national team, looking to become only the 6th player in history to become the 100-cap player for the Azzurri.
And Daniel De Rossi, several top clubs have their eyes on him to lure him away from Roma. Francesco Totti doing everything he can to make him stay. For a team that finished 6th in the Serie A, they hope they can keep this team intact and make one more run. And perhaps Francesco Totti, looking at Marco Di Vaio and Alessandro Nesta, will be inspired to perhaps, in the not-too-distant future, call Major League Soccer home. I'd like to welcome everyone watching on ESPN2. Glad you could join us for the 2013 AT&T MLS All-Star game. The MLS All-Stars taking on AS Roma. First time an Italian side has been invited to this game, and it's an intense affair the All-Stars will be looking to win. I am Max Bretos, joined by Casey Keller, Alejandro Moreno, and Alexi Lalas, and we have gone through this MLS All-Star team again. Part of the showcase piece is they're playing in Kansas City. As you can see, a spectacular setting. This team has come a long way. And we were talking about the Roma team. What kind of challenges will they provide this All-Star group?
Well, this is a Roma team that has aspirations to get back to the top. This is a Roma team with quality players. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the big names, De Rossi, Totti, and from an American perspective, Michael Bradley. This is also a team, as Casey was saying earlier, that's in preseason. And to a certain extent, for the MLS All-Stars, you can't win, because if you lose to them, you say, well, how could you possibly lose to them? MLS is no good. And if you beat them, it's because they were in preseason. But you know what? The message that goes out when you do beat teams like this, it doesn't change everything overnight. It doesn't change perception of MLS overnight, but it's still a good, positive message. So for this team tonight, they do have a responsibility. They are representing MLS, and to get a W would be good.
It's a nice feather in the cap. By the way, it's like the opening ceremony of the Olympics.
They like it loud here.
Spectacular. Here's the starting 11 for the MLS All-Stars. Some faces you know, Casey, some that we may not know too much about.
Well, look, it's a very attack-minded team. You look at Henry, Di Vaio, Davis, Zusi, Johnson. This is a team that wants to go forward, wants to score goals. and it's going to be very important how they also mesh at the back and make sure that they find that good balance between being a showcase to go score goals, show off, but also keeping it tight, because this is a Roma team that can hit you and hit you hard.
Are you kidding me? Did you see that midfield for the MLS All-Star team? Beckerman, Johnson, Davis, Susi. That's a dream for an MLS coach.
And they'll be going up against this midfield, Alejandro, as we have touched on. A lot of quality, and we hope to see Francesco Totti join him.
Well, and Kevin Strootman just came in from PSV Eindhoven. Maybe a guy that Michael Bradley will fight against to get a spot in the team. But Michael Bradley is a guy that we all want to see play and we all want to see feature for this team.
Much more from Sporting Park. The fans of here have had a great week. Concerts, parties, you name it. And it's culminating with the MLS All-Star Game here. Ever wondered what the point of view from the referee would look like? You're going to get your opportunity tonight. Hilario Grajeda will be mic'd. We'll have the camera, and there is what he is looking at.
Are you going to watch the game? Yeah.
Having a little exchange with Mike McGee and warning him ahead of time that we can hear you. An interesting revelation. Hey, it's the technological age, and we're moving forward with it, and I hope you'll enjoy that with us throughout the next 90 minutes or more here at Sporting Park. It's the AT&T All-Star Game here from Kansas City. The All-Stars taking on Roma. We know about the symbol of Roma, Francesco Totti, but a great opportunity for Michael Bradley, and he has really, Casey, gone into this team without any hitches and become a big focal part of their midfield.
Yeah, he had a big year last year, really solidified himself. But like any big team, they're always trying to improve. They're always bringing in new players. They signed Dutch international Kevin Strootman for $23 million. Very similar type of player in same position. So a very important preseason for Michael Bradley to just continue to show everybody at Roma that he's a starter for this team.
But Michael Bradley doesn't scare easily. He likes competition, and it'll be fun to see what he does. Watching Michael Bradley evolve as a player has been fascinating. He has become a player with an economy of motion. His decision-making, his simplicity is absolutely wonderful. And not only does Roma benefit from it, but the U.S. national team benefits. He's also learned to control himself, to have that composure, to have a rhythm in the game, know when to go fast, know when to go slowly. And a lot of that has come in his time in Italy.
You lit up when he said economy of motion.
Yeah, did you just go with economy of motion, huh? Listen, Michael Bradley with Landon Donovan, you think of players that are important to the national team, and the first name that comes to mind is perhaps Landon Donovan. But there's no midfield without Michael Bradley. He's a key player for the U.S. national team.
He is consistently consistent, whether it's for club, whether it's for country, and Major League Soccer very proud because as a teenager he began his soccer career right here in this league. A wonderful success story. And we did get to see a couple Kansas City legends there bring out the trophy. Preki along with Tony Meola, and it's great to see them embrace the past, even though the future is really taking control of this franchise.
And an MLS Cup winning past.
Yes.
So there was success, but as we said at the start of the show, what this team has become now on the field and off the field, I don't think anybody could have envisioned it. I certainly, back when I was playing in the late 90s here, I didn't envision it, and we talked about relevancy. It was irrelevant back then. It is more than relevant right now. They treat this team just like any other professional team here. People wear the clothes, the brand is all over. How have they done it? They've done it with local ownership, they've done it with progressive type of thinking, and they've done it with people with the courage to go and do some things.
About 19,000 expected, a little over capacity here, and they have packed in because they want to be part of this experience.
And I think what it's becoming is it's becoming an experience for other fans and other teams to say, I want to go to Kansas City and experience that as well. And that's a really big part. When you can create something so cool that fans write that on their calendar and say, I want to go to Kansas City this year.
And for those of us that were around for the earlier days of MLS, to see this right now is a sense of pride and something that we're very proud of.
And they've done everything the right way. They have not missed a beat, and it's culminated here. Perhaps we'll be back here for MLS Cup. Time will tell. When we return, we'll kick things off with Adrian Healy and Taylor Twelman. All-Star Game coming up.
From sensational Sporting Park in Kansas City, we welcome you to the 2013 AT&T MLS All-Star Game. The best 20 players in MLS going up against Italian giants Roma. First time the All-Star game has ever come to Kansas City, and we are delighted to bring it to you. As we welcome you into the commentary booth. Looking at the cauldron there, it's going to be some cauldron, isn't it? He's Taylor Twellman, I'm Adrian Healy. For MLS players, chances to test their mettle against the European elite are few and far between, aren't they, Taylor? This is one of those occasions, the visit of Roma providing the ideal showcase for MLS.
Well, and Adrian, that showcase you talk about is twofold. On display all week long has been the transformation of Kansas City into a soccer city. Think of this, in 2010, Sporting Kansas City was playing in a baseball stadium 5 minutes from here. Remarkable turnaround, but it's also about the collection of stars coming together tonight for that one night. How often will you see Marco Di Vaio and Thierry Henry together against arguably the greatest player of his generation in Italy, Francesco Totti and Michael Bradley? Tonight's All-Star game should be special.
Yeah, it's going to be a heady mix of experienced internationals and those making their debut on this sort of stage. The coin toss has been made. Michael Bradley, what a special, special night for him on his birthday. And he's being coached by a man, Peter Vermees, who's coaching this game for the first time in his home stadium. And Peter Vermees said something very interesting leading up to this game. Perhaps not the Peter Vermees that you and I know, Taylor. He said, they're just going to keep it simple tonight.
And that's the subject of my Continental Tire Analyst Corner. It's extremely difficult to execute any kind of game plan with only one training for this competitive All-Star game. But Vermees was very smart with his 4-4-2 lineup. Think about it. Colin and Beasler, teammates from Sporting Kansas City, Beckerman and Will Johnson, former teammates from Real Salt Lake, and then Davis and Ash on the left-hand side. Vermees is looking for any kind of continuity he can find to give his team the best chance against Roma tonight.
And going over to greet his opposite number tonight, Rudy Garcia. There he is, the Frenchman who's just taken charge in Rome, literally just a few weeks ago. Bit of a surprise appointment, if you ask many, in the Italian capital city, but his pedigree in France is unquestioned. Talking of the French, there'll be quite a collection of them tonight, led by that man for the MLS All-Stars, Thierry Henry, partnering Marco Di Vaio up front. The 35-year-old and the 37-year-old together leading the line for the MLS All-Stars as we get underway. Quick look at our referee cam. Hilario Grajeda is the man in the middle, and yes, he is sporting a camera tonight, and we will check in on his viewpoint of the game from time to time. The MLS All-Stars wearing the special shirt designed for the game. Roma in their traditional giallo rossi, as they call it, the yellow and red. The Italians will be going from right to left. First ever MLS All-Star game against Italian opposition. Our pre-game show, we highlighted the success that MLS have had against European opponents over the years, against teams from England and Scotland and Mexico. Beating the European champions of the time, Chelsea, just a year ago, was quite a night in Philadelphia. But this has been already a splendid week in the build-up to this game. Now we're looking for the payoff. Thierry Henry looking for the first opportunity of the game. Sees the ball just elude his grasp. The cauldron, they call it here. This fantastic arena, which has been sold out for 27 consecutive MLS games. Of course, you couldn't get a ticket for this for love nor money. Here's Beckerman. Right to Tony Beltran, making his first MLS start, the RSL man. And he chisels out the first corner of the game. Beltran, who's had to be so patient, Taylor, for his time, even with RSL. He was behind Robbie Russell for so long there. But Brad Davis, the man in charge of the set piece for the All-Stars. He of the exquisite left foot. But that's a gift for Morgan DeSantis, making his Roma start tonight. Recently acquired goalkeeper. Little nudge in the back from Junior Tallo. Roma, who travelled here over the weekend, having played in Greece against Aris Thessaloniki. And the side they're putting out tonight is a little different from that one because Eric Lamela, the Argentine striker, pulled up in training yesterday. And of course, still no Daniel De Rossi out there for them, as his future remains a little uncertain.
No, but you can tell which team is in form. The players from MLS, and obviously Peter Vermees talked about it yesterday in training, that the first 15 minutes, listen, Roma's trying to get fit, get ready for their season, put pressure on Roma early on in this game.
Very different mindset and physical conditions out there, isn't it? Said, the MLS players very much in mid-season form. And that's a little dink through, and there's an opportunity here for Strootman! Oh, it's an own goal, would you believe it? Aurelien Collin got the final touch. Of all things, the flag stayed down. Strootman was bursting through, but I think that's going down as an own goal. Collin in front of his own fans here, turning it past Raul Fernandez, and Roma strike early.
And arguably their biggest signing this offseason. Strootman is huge, but when you watch this run, Strootman's coming from here. Both center backs are pushed too high. Look at how high that line is from the MLS All-Stars, and Strootman comes from no man's land. That's such a deep run, and that's the part of this game that he's going to bring to Roma this season. Collin did a little unlucky to deflect that off of Strootman, but what a run in behind.
Yeah, it's going to be Kevin Strootman's goal, isn't it? Looking at that, Collin got the tackle in, but deflected it right onto Strootman's leg. And what a start for him, Kevin Strootman, who's just arrived from PSV. The Dutch midfielder giving Roma a dream start here. As you said, Taylor, that was a remarkably high defensive line from the All-Stars. It is Collin and Beasley together at the back for the All-Stars. Several partnerships you mentioned, plenty of familiarity with the two Houston players playing together down the left, Corey Ash and Brad Davis. And even in the center, Kyle Beckerman and Will Johnson. Different teams now, but so many years together. Here's a legend, quite simply that. Francesco Totti on the ball, what a ball too, for Tallo, it's offside. The flag has gone up. That's some inquest going on at the heart of the All-Stars defense early on. It's a simple pass from Totti, which seemed to release Tallo.
Well, and immediately when Totti plays this ball in behind, you see Collin and Beckerman having words, and this is the uncertainty you have with your center back and center midfielder not being on the same team, and it's very important. You can hear the loud noise here, communication's important, but Totti's 30 yards from your goal. There has to be ball pressure from that point. You can't allow Totti 30 yards from your own goal to pick up his head, have time, and knock that ball in behind.
Well, in a city called the Eternal City, Francesco Totti just seems to go on forever, doesn't he? It's quite a remarkable career, which is becoming more and more unique in the modern game. The fact that he's stuck with one club for as long as he has. That's the Greek fullback, Tarasidis, on the far side. Totti, who's 36 now, has been in the Roma first team for fully 20 years. Just think about that. His debut as a 16-year-old. Despite many attempts to lure him away, he's always stayed in the Italian capital city.
Well, one of those attempts was from Marco Di Vaio. We talked about that in the press conference, trying to get Totti to come here to MLS, but when you've played over 500 games for the same club, scored over 200 goals, I understand staying with your club. That's something special.
He's very much the Romanista, as they say. Daniel De Rossi is another. There's Totti's ball. How about that for accuracy? And another chance for Roma, which isn't taken this time. Florenzi, the young attacking midfielder, clean in on goal, but skewing his shot wide. What a pass.
It's remarkable, though, the amount of space. Look at Corey Ash, gets caught ball watching. He's stuck back on his heel, and Florenzi times that run perfect. Yes, it's the great ball, but it's the perfect run 60 yards away. Corey Ash has to be on his toes much earlier defending, not on his heels.
Well, if the MLS All-Stars had any doubts about the sort of challenge they were facing tonight, I think they've been very quickly removed. Roma may be in pre-season form and fitness, but Peter Vermees has these substitutes to turn to at some stage in the game. I'm sure we'll see all of them. Chris Wondolowski and Camilo up front. Jack McInerney is there too. Remember, 20 players part of this MLS All-Star Game Day roster. Thierry Henry trying to jig his way through. Beckerman only as far as Bradley, and Roma can relieve the pressure again here. Strootman, their big money signing. Cost some $23 million.
They unretired the number 6 jersey for him.
They did.
He better be good.
Aldair, the Brazilian legend, had that number retired only a decade ago.
You think they called him and asked permission?
They also mentioned that it used to be Mark van Bommel's number with PSV, who was his idol growing up. Here is Strootman on the ball. Colin. Here's Graham Zusi. 3 hometown players in the starting lineup. Sporting Kansas City, Real Salt Lake led all MLS teams with 3 selections for this All-Star game. Houston, LA and Montreal just behind them with 2 apiece. We should mention there were a couple of withdrawals as well, Taylor, through to injury. Robbie Keane and Tim Cahill unable to take part. They were initially selected. Landon Donovan and Jack McInerney selected as their replacements.
Pretty cool, though, to see Tim Cahill make the trip out here as well.
Yeah, he's here. Seems to be in some sort of coaching role, doesn't he? As Henry tries to link up with DeVio. DeVio's return service. Was keying in on Brad Davis, but didn't reach him. Tied it up by Miralem Pjanic, the Bosnia and Herzegovina international.
But Adrian, that's the combination coming into this game I was most excited about, is DeVio and Henry up front. How often are you going to see 2 players like that? Henry wants to play underneath DeVio. DeVio will test that back line. He leads MLS in offside by double 45, but he loves to test that back line with runs in behind.
Here's Totti. Arrowing his way inside. Totti's shot, taking a little deflection. It'll be a Roma corner. Second all-time in Serie A goal scoring. Francesco Totti. And when you consider that Thierry Henry is 3rd all-time still in the English Premier League, they're the only 2 active players still ranked in the top 3 in the Big 5 when it comes to European leagues. Strootman hemmed in near the corner flag. It's Balzoretti. Now Pjanic. Torosidis fancies a go. But not enough to test Raul Fernandez, the Peruvian goalkeeper who gets the nod tonight over Nick Rimando in goal. Fernandez has had some spectacular games this season. Taylor, we saw one of them, Dallas's defeat in Portland. Quite an addition to the league. Previously playing in French football, he was with Nice. Players returning for the All-Stars from last year and that win against Chelsea. But only 2 starters, though, interestingly, in that they're both Frenchmen, Aurélien Collin and Thierry Henry. running out of room to operate, but the throw-in goes the All-Stars way. Hilario Grajeda has a little extra weight to carry around with him tonight, doesn't he?
Now finally someone understands my pain.
You and me both, sir. You and me both. That's the viewpoint from Mr. Grajeda's camera. Just very kindly put it on for us tonight. Bradley arriving to intercept.
I mean, Adrian, how good of a spot is that from Michael Bradley? Because Tony Beltran tucks inside. Now it's extremely difficult for that back four to pick up that run out of the midfield. Michael Bradley in the right spot at the right time.
Bradley coming to the start of his second year with Roma, his third year in Italy. Totti has his work cut out here. And you look at what's happened when MLS All-Stars have played international opponents over the years. It's pretty good, isn't it? Both the defeats in 10 previous games came in consecutive seasons against Manchester United, and they were heavy defeats too, but otherwise pretty unblemished record. The draw came against Everton in 2009. Zusi. Beckerman on hand to win it back. Now Henry was caught there as he tried to link up with Di Vaio. Turns 36 next month, Thierry Henry. Now that's the view that the referee had a look at. Graham Zusi trying to prime the pump here for the All-Stars. No flick on from Beasler, his club teammates. Totti's clearance is back into traffic. Roma struggling to clear their lines. Totti, though, is so adept at finding space. He was aware of where the run was from Florenzi. Good interception this time by Zusi. Hungrily picked up, and a quick ball too for Di Vaio, who stays onside. Marco Di Vaio! Well, he's always a man that lives on the shoulder of the last defender, Di Vaio.
And this is exactly the kind of forward that Marco Di Vaio is. The moment that ball turns over, he's on the back shoulder of that center back. So often when you watch games, Adrian, you're looking for your center forwards to try to expose that center back, get him one-on-one. Di Vaio is extremely good at pulling off that back shoulder.
A man who knows the opponents oh so well tonight, Marco Di Vaio. Born in Rome. Came up through the youth system of their big rivals, Lazio. Zusi. Pjanic able to nick it away from him. Now Totti trying to launch Strootman forward. Strootman has already found the back of the net once, but no way past Matt Beasler there. If someone embodies the term hometown hero here in Kansas City, it has to be Matt Beasler. Zusi. A little better now from the All-Stars, Taylor, trying to get their feet in the game.
Well, and it's all coming off number 14, Thierry Henry in the midfield. When he drops deep, that's the pleasure of an All-Star game. Now you have in the midfield Brad Davis or Graham Zusi tucking forward, getting forward next to Marco Di Vaio up front. A lot of interchanging in the midfield from the MLS All-Stars right now.
Brad Davis playing in his fifth All-Star game. A man Taylor, who you feel really turned his career around a few years ago, back in 2008.
Yeah, 2008, he made a commitment to that fitness, and I think we've seen it now in 2013 with the men's national team. Jurgen Klinsmann's brought him into a couple situations where it calls for a more defensive midfielder type of thing. At Azteca, 0-0 draw, coming in, playing defense for the last 15-20 minutes. He's been more of a complete player since 2008.
Forced to defend again as Roma chisel away down the right-hand side. There's Davis. He's just reached his 300th appearance in MLS. Only the 22nd player to do so. Castan across to Balzaretti, the left back. Some of you may remember from Italy at Euro 2012. A summer ago, he was starting for them. Michael Bradley. Nobody's played more games for the United States over the last 7 years than Michael Bradley. Totti on to Balzaretti. Balzaretti's cross is too close to Fernandez. But watching Totti at work is...
Oh my God, it's just ridiculous, Adrian. You know, he looks like he's not really moving around, but it's his understanding of when to tuck inside, when to come out wide. It's a pleasure to watch. Speechless.
Every pass seems to be weighted perfectly, doesn't it?
Well, the technical side is one thing. I just love watching him, the understanding of what type of run in that situation is needed.
Beckerman fending off Bradley. Henry unable to get past Pjanic. Now Totti. Good work from Colin. Roma are a club coming off by their lofty standards a fairly disappointing year last year. They finished only 6th in Serie A. Finished actually 10 points out of the Champions League spots. Certain amount of rebuilding taking place, and the new manager as well, Frenchman Rudy Garcia. Totti's ball again inside Aurelian Collin. This time the cutback from Florenzi finds no takers, but he is just opening up this All-Stars defense at will. You're seeing a magician at work in the early stages. Hungrily won back by Strootman. The overlapping option provided by Torresidis. Bradley's layoff. Strootman can't find his way through. The All-Stars defense congealing.
This is such a difficult test for the MLS All-Stars tonight, because watching Roma, especially in the midfield, Adrian, when that ball immediately turns over, Bradley and Strootman are all over the place. Immediate ball pressure. MLS All-Stars having a difficult time breaking that pressure.
Oh, we're so glad you could join us tonight. ESPN's coverage of the MLS All-Star Game is brought to you by Adidas, pushing the game forward. And it's also brought to you by AT&T, rethink possible. From Sporting Park, just outside of Kansas City. Roma with the early breakthrough here, courtesy of Kevin Strootman. A little inadvertent helping hand from Aurelian Collin along the way. Beckerman playing in his 7th straight MLS All-Star Game, or selected for his 7th straight, and actually hasn't played in all of them. That, by the way, is the 2nd longest streak behind Landon Donovan, who is here, and we expect to see him in the second half. We have Monica Gonzalez with us as well. Monica.
Well, Adrian, Graham Zusi just came over to the sideline, pointed to his quad, and told Peter Vermees that he needs to come off the field, so expect a substitution here pretty soon.
Thanks, Monica. Well, that would be a real blow for Zusi and for the fans here. Looks Looks like Camilo, the Brazilian striker from the Vancouver Whitecaps, is warming up.
And that's the last thing every MLS coach wants. It's a great showcase, but it's in the middle of the season on a Wednesday night. That's the last thing Vermes wanted.
Balzaretti, he's offside. They are having a field day down the flanks at the moment, Roma. And here's confirmation of Graham Zusi's departure.
Substitution for the MLS All-Stars. Checking in for the Vancouver Whitecaps.
It'll look via Hilario Grajera's camera. Graham Zusi, who was nominated for an ESPY, the best player in MLS just a few weeks ago, went to LA wearing a suit fashioned for him by his teammate Aurelien Collin, who's doing some business in the fashion world, it seems. Graham Zusi will try and rest up. They have a big game against the New York Red Bulls here this weekend, and Camilo is on. So a very different sort of look now for the All-Stars. Camilo immediately into action. 25-year-old Brazilian who's been in sparkling form for Vancouver. Devayo giving chase, but Leandro Castan able to tidy up. Totti prepared to mix it up too. Camilo's joint top scorer of MLS at the moment, alongside Mike McGee, who's also here. But he was outnumbered, and Roma able to break free. How do you think this alters the setup for the All-Stars, Taylor? Losing a playmaker like Zusi, replacing him with a different sort of player.
Yeah, Camilo will move more up front, and then it just gives the freedom that Thierry Henry's had from the onset of this game. He'll drop more into the midfield than he had early on.
MLS Game of the Week will return on Sunday, August the 11th. It's at Dallas against the Los Angeles Galaxy, big Western Conference clash. Sunday, August the 11th, 8 Eastern on ESPN2. Also, the Watch ESPN app. And right after that game, don't go anywhere because it'll be the debut of ESPN FC on TV, our new daily studio show. August the 11th is the debut date for that. Still chanting Graham Zusi's name. Still two Kansas City players out there, though, in Beasler and Collin, the two centre-backs. Here's Davis trying to weave a path through midfield. He's found his Houston teammate, Corey Ash. Given away, though, rather needlessly. And now Bradley. To Junior Tallo, a new name for most Roma fans. 20-year-old from the Ivory Coast. Balzaretti and Totti in tandem down the left. Balzaretti with Tony Beltran coming to meet him. Now Pjanic. Bradley feeding it through to Torresidis. Again, an awful lot of room for the fullbacks. And the All-Stars will be happy to get away with the corner there.
Just an absolute clinic right now on how to keep the ball in the midfield from Roma and get your outside fullbacks going forward.
What about that? Beckerman marking Bradley. Hasn't happened too often, has it? Hasn't actually happened at club level since 2005, when Michael Bradley spent his one season in MLS as an 18-year-old. Right, the corner short, Torresidis with the better angle, but no trouble there for Raul Fernandez. So you might have seen the Audi Cup begin this afternoon in Munich. Well, tomorrow on ESPN 2 we'll bring you the third place game and the final. AC Milan against Sao Paulo and Manchester City against Bayern Munich. The Audi Cup from Munich tomorrow at noon and 2:15 on ESPN 2.
What was the first half? 5-3?
Today between City and AC Milan. Unbelievable. Goals were flowing like water. Here's Brad Davis. Well, he did well to engineer an opening for himself there, Brad Davis. Does have a goal in a previous All-Star game back in 2009, Brad Davis. Neat and tidy again at the back for Roma. Not looking like they're in pre-season form, Taylor, on this evidence so far in the first half an hour. Here's Florenzi. Bradley. Totti has switched across to the right now to try and orchestrate for the opposite flank. Torresidis going for the driven delivery. Now, what about on the road? Brought to you by Super 8. Look at Roma's schedule. They're here in the United States for a couple of weeks. They go to Boston for training. And they'll take on Toronto on August the 7th and finish up against Chelsea at RFK Stadium on August the 10th. There's a big, big Boston connection now to Roma. There have been for a couple of years, but they have President Jim Pallotta, who's here watching them, and will probably invite them to train in his backyard, I imagine.
Yeah, and I think for over the last 12 to 18 months, we've really seen Roma try to globalize their brand. We see their deal with Disney, their contract with Nike, and also setting up that interracial camp in South Africa. They're really trying to globalize the Roma brand.
Good looking cross, and Colin was determined to get on the end of it. He did, but the angle was awkward for him.
And Adrian, it's been 31 minutes into this game, and this really is the first good attack from the MLS All-Stars.
Fine service, wasn't it, for Brad Davis? Will Johnson was in the vicinity of that too. Chance now, perhaps the cross coming in. Well, Di Vaio had wormed his way down the byline. Beckerman picking up the pieces, but Bradley is there to deny him. Tallow. Little wriggle free down the byline. Bradley. Totti. Pjanic. Bradley with a little spin move, actually seemed to run into his own man. He went down, but the referee's given the free kick.
It's just unbelievable. The MLS All-Stars are chasing shadows in the midfield right now. The two-touch passing, the interaction between Strootman and Bradley, the fullbacks going forward, Totti dropping into the midfield. This has been fun to watch.
Well, the upshot is a set piece here for Roma. Francesco Totti, in his long and storied career, has scored many from this sort of range. Totti, who actually had 14 assists in Serie A last season, his highest ever number in his 20th year. Here's Beltran. Back to Beasler. Grew up in the Overland Park, not far from here, Matt Beasler. Colin. Thierry Henry appreciated the thoughts, the two Frenchmen trying to connect. The Big Head Redhead podcast continues to storm the national internet, as we like to say. This week, Taylor and Alexi talk about MLS and its midway point and wrap up the Gold Cup as well. It's available right now on iTunes, ESPN.com/podcast, or Pod Center, I should say.
For the first time in my life, I had to educate someone on music. McElroy and Ryan Lewis. Yep.
Telling me Alexi didn't know who he was, or they were.
He had no idea.
He introduced them on Monday night, didn't he? He learned quickly. Great show, by the way. The entertainment has been fantastic this week here. The Power and Light District in Kansas City. McElroy and Ryan Lewis on Monday night. Silversun pickups yesterday. Nothing doing for Bradley, but it spins the way of Torresidis. Here's Monica with an update on Graham Zusi.
Adrian, I spoke to the team physician. He said that when Graham Zusi kicked the ball, his quad didn't feel right. That's why he decided to come off the field. And the physician told me that he does have a knot in his quad, and it's probably a strain, but he said he definitely doesn't have a tear, and it's still too early to tell whether he'll be able to play this weekend or not.
In a huge game this weekend.
Yeah, New York Red Bulls. And Peter Vermees was joking, wasn't he? He said he was going to give some of his Kansas City players an easier time tonight and play Thierry Henry a full 90 minutes.
Well, that injury, though, throws a loop into his plans because he did have to pick two guys that would play 90 minutes. One of those is Colin at center back, and he couldn't figure it out before the game who that second player would be.
Yeah, it's really a marvelous season that's unfolding at MLS, getting towards 2/3 of the way through the regular season. If you haven't been following it, the race is amazingly tight. Only 12 points separating, or rather 7 points separating the top 12 teams. Landon Donovan is here and waiting in the wings after his Gold Club exploits. Totti. Standouts already, but an offside flag again. It's becoming a theme. Nasty collision at the end of that, even with the flag up. Raul Fernandez had to go for the ball.
It's just been a dangerous high line from the MLS All-Stars, and he's about 10 yards offside. You don't need a referee cam for that one.
He was almost in Missouri, wasn't he? He was so far offside. This stadium, in case you didn't know, is actually in Kansas rather than Missouri. Just about 15 minutes from downtown Kansas City. Henry trying to instigate things. Corey Ash on to Davis. Once again, seemingly Roma able to swarm the MLS player on the ball.
Yeah, but that's the first thing. The next thing is 2 passes and they're out of pressure.
First time cross this time, beyond the reach of Tallo, who is probably, to be fair, the number 4 striker for Roma, Junior Tallo. No Eric Lamela, we told you about him. Pablo Osvaldo also ahead of him in the pecking order. Also not available tonight. Aurelian Collin had a big fashion show here yesterday. His AC 78 line of suits, giving a workout. Totti, not this time. Cut out by Will Johnson. The only Portland Timbers representative here, Will Johnson. And alongside a man who played with for several seasons, Kyle Beckerman. And Portland, of course, will host next year's MLS All-Star game. That was just announced a couple of weeks ago. There is Will Johnson. Only the Timbers' second ever All-Star. Jack Dewsbury was an All-Star in 2011.
Well, when we saw the All-Star game history with foreign opponents, I like this year. We're moving out of that EPL opponent. Now we're seeing Roma. I'd like to see someone from the Bundesliga maybe. Maybe bring over a Dortmund, a Bayern Munich. Really, let's just go around the world and play a team.
I like your thinking.
Plus, I just want to bother, people on Twitter about my bothersome hatred for the EPL.
Bradley for Roma. Really put on a clinic for a lot of this first half. Peter Vermees is going to have some thinking to do, isn't he, at half-time? MLS All-Stars manager on his home turf. Totti with a curler, Tallo! Shot on target from the youngster from the Ivory Coast.
Well, and with injuries come opportunities to play, and Tallo's been extremely good of coming off that opposite side. How about that touch? So difficult to use your opposite foot outside the shot to get that on frame. What a touch. But see, this is the little thing right now. Roma pushes forward. They've got 5-6 guys going forward. It's a little thing, but such a good professional foul from Strootman there.
And a little talking to, which you saw through our referee cam. Hilario Grajeda, quick word with Strootman. Can the MLS All-Stars get going before the break? Camilo has produced some choice moments from free kicks this season for Vancouver. This is a long way out. Trying to find Aurelian Collin. And Beckerman's efforts look like they're going to be rewarded with a corner. It's the second corner this first half for the All-Stars. They're getting to their feet here. In Kansas City, the Cauldron. Davis and Henry. Well, he was trying to line that up for the bicycle, wasn't he? It was drifting in his direction. Instead, there's danger now for the All-Stars as Roma plow their way forward. But a little bit of miscommunication there. Tallo was on a different wavelength to everyone else. And back comes Thierry Henry for more. Nice work as well. Johnson outside him, in comes the cross. Well, for once, they caught Roma a little stretched at the back there. Corey Ash in his second All-Star game. That'll be an All-Star free kick. Davis hauled down by Strootman. And having earned the free kick, I think Brad Davis is going to take command of this one. Morgan DeSantis in goal for Roma. Just moved a week ago from Napoli. His first meaningful moments for his new club, the 36-year-old keeper. displaced by the arrival of Pepe Reina from Liverpool on loan in Napoli. What can Davis do? Left foot in! Oh, and Colin was close, but DeSantis was even closer. Don't go anywhere at half-time, because we'll look at the first half in our Fast and Fluid segment presented by Microsoft 8, and MLS Commissioner Don Garber will join us in the studio. He's got an announcement to make, and he'll also talk a little Chivas USA as well, with Alexi and Casey and Alejandro. Max Bretos leading the crew there. Full half-time show for you lined up. Still that early goal from Kevin Strootman is the difference maker. No more possession now for the All-Stars. Camilo, though, is on the wrong end of a fine tackle there by Michael Bradley. Tallo, who was playing in the second division in Italy, Serie B last year with Bari. Balzaretti. Colin straining everything to cut it out. The man his manager calls a destroyer, Aurelian Colin. Third corner for Roma. There's only going to be 1 minute of stoppage time, I can tell you that, as Totti prepares to deliver. Oh, a near post flick. It was Benatia, the Moroccan, who came forward. Mehdi Benatia, another new arrival for Roma. Henry trying to be the instigator from deep, as you noted, Taylor. He's dropped a little deeper and deeper to try and make things happen. How would you sum up what you've seen in the first half, Taylor, from the All-Stars perspective?
It's been extremely difficult to break down Roma, particularly in the midfield. They have opportunities to find Beckerman, Will Johnson, Brad Davis, but how often have we called Marco Di Vaio's name?
Yeah.
How often have we said Thierry Henry? The only way you say Thierry Henry is if he drops right next to Beckerman or Will Johnson at some point this second half. They have to stretch that back line from Roma.
Roma at the other end have been doing a lot of stretching of the All-Stars defensive, they particularly on the flanks. Is it going to continue here? Bradley. Miscue this time. The pass from Pjanic. Bradley to Strootman. Balzaretti to Totti. And that will do it. Hilario Grajeda has signaled half-time, so the MLS All-Stars head in trailing by a goal to nil. Kevin Strootman's early efforts, despite the best attempts of Aurelian Colin to disrupt. Kevin Strootman getting his first goal for his new team. The All-Stars 0, Roma 1, an action-packed half-time show awaiting you, folks, so don't go anywhere at all. We'll hear from Commissioner Don Garber a little later on in the half-time show, but first of all, welcome back to Sporting Park. Getting set for the second half of the 2013 AT&T MLS All-Star Game. Roma in front, courtesy of Kevin Strootman's early goal here. And the MLS All-Stars with it all to do. We've been enjoying Hilario Grajeda's referee cam. A different viewpoint on the game is one of those moments from the first half.
Corner, corner. ¿Cómo está? ¿Está bien? ¿Cómo está? Easy, easy, Ariel. Ariel, 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 tranquilo.
A little bit of a different viewpoint of the game, Taylor Twelver.
Well, at least we know what the refs are looking at then. I don't know if the refs are going to like that camera.
Like the view of the arm as well. What's Peter Vermees going to do in this second half? Because he has some weapons to turn to quite clearly, doesn't he?
Well, the MLS All-Stars, it's an All-Star game, so
Yeah.
you have to throw caution to the wind, especially when you have Landon Donovan, Mike McGee, Jack McInerney on the bench. They have to create more chances. They have to get in behind that back line of Roma and just create chances and hopefully score some goals.
Well, you're seeing Chris Wondolowski out there. He is certainly going to be one of the changes. We're expecting some as well from Roma. Wondolowski is out there. I'll tell you that Omar Gonzalez, Nick Romando is going to take his place of Raul Fernandez in goal. Patrice Bernier, Mike McGee and Landon Donovan. So Peter Vermees isn't waiting, is he? He's really rung the changes. Nick Romando will get the second half in goal. The Real Salt Lake man. Mike McGee, what a story he has been in the firm running for MVP this season, and who would have thought that? Mike McGee, who scored goals for LA and scored goals for Chicago Fire in equal abundance, having the year of his life. Let's see if the change of personnel leads to a change in the dynamics here in the second half. The All-Stars now going from right to left. Two Frenchmen there, Thierry Henry and Aurélien Collin, who are still out there. Peter Vermees did promise, as you heard Taylor say in the first half, that two players would play the full 90 minutes. And perhaps he's going to keep it fair. One from Sporting Kansas City, one from New York, given that they play each other this weekend. Castan with the clearance towards Tallow. Appeals for handball on both sides of the pitch there. But Tallow. Going back with Beltran, who's still out there as well, the right back. In it comes, oh, and there's a chance for Roma! 2-0 it is. Alessandro Florenzi was wide open and he finished with some style. Made it look simple, didn't he? After Balzaretti's cross found him. Florenzi doubling the Romans' advantage. They scored early in both halves here at the All-Star game.
And this is the second time we've seen Corey Ash get called ball watching. Because we talked about this in the first half. Immediately when that ball is won, look at how tucked in Corey Ash is right here. Florenzi, just like the first half, it's an easy run. The moment that ball turns over, that reaction from Corey Ash isn't good enough. Great ball in behind from Balzaretti. Simple finish for Florenzi, excuse me. But that's just simple defending, fundamental defending from Corey Ash that needs to get better.
Well, the Roman candle is burning bright here in Kansas City. Alessandro Florenzi, another hometown product for Roma, another Romanista. The start of just his second full year with the club. Played a lot last year though, Florenzi. Only missed 2 league games. Well, the gauntlet's been thrown down for the All-Stars. What can Thierry Henry do here? He's got 3 for company. Good looking cross. Oh, was there any contact? Referee had a good look at it. Wondolowski was lurking. Now Donovan taking over. Landon Donovan. All-Star game number 13 in a row, this for Donovan. That is a record. Camillo back inside to Patrice Bernier, the Montreal man, who's also out there. Mike McGee now. Bernier's ball, targeting Camillo. Here's Totti. There's only two players left on the MLS All-Stars bench after that wholesale change at half-time. DeAndre Yedlin, who was the commissioner's pick, the young fullback from Seattle, and Jack McInerney, the prolific young forward from the Philadelphia Union. Safely back by Benatia to Morgan DeSantis. Wasn't too happy about leaving Napoli, Taylor. Morgan DeSantis actually took out a full-page advert,
I was going to say.
in the Napoli newspaper. And said, "Heart, sweat and honour" was the headline in there. He's more than welcome in Rome, where they lost their starting goalkeeper Martin Stecklenburg over the summer. Not this time between Pjanic and Bradley. It breaks down. Wondolowski taking over for the All-Stars. Trying to score in consecutive All-Star games. Chris Wondolowski scored the opener last year against Chelsea. No one has scored in consecutive All-Star games since Landon Donovan did back in 2001 and 2002, his first two. Here is Donovan. He scored 4 goals in his first All-Star game. From Camillo, the Brazilian, trying to trick his way around the outside, and did so. He has been a delight to watch this year for Vancouver, isn't he, Camillo? Joint top scorer with Mike McGee, who's alongside him now for the All-Stars. Bradley. Patrice Bernier hauling it in. Donovan with control. And Donovan, who had such a sparkling Gold Cup.
Better reaction, though, in the midfield from Patrice Bernier. The moment Roma tries to get forward, he wins that ball, picks up his head, and finds Landon Donovan, putting pressure on that back line from Roma.
7 goals and 7 assists on his return to the United States men's national team. His corner. And by Balzaretti, and now Roma perhaps can break here. Interesting, they didn't make the switches at half-time. I want to give their starters longer out here as Totti swings it back across. Struman, Tallow. But Gonzalez is there. Very quickly back though, and Totti had held his position. Bradley, Michael Bradley for Roma, bursting into the area, but running out of real estate. Let's go down to Monica Gonzalez.
Adrian, Peter Vermees told me at halftime that he felt like the problem in the first half was that in the diamond midfield, the outside mids were getting caught too far inside, and it was taking them too long to get wide. So he switched to a 4-1-4-1. And with Landon and Camillo sitting in behind Henry, he thinks the outside mids will be able to use the width and they'll be able to have more attacking options. Adrian?
Thanks so much, Monica, as Donovan is sent sprawling. Well, they haven't had to face that sort of pace so far, the Roma defenders, and Pjanic is going to be punished for bringing down Donovan. Donovan not too happy about it either.
Well, he's not. It has nothing to do with the tackle. The moment Pjanic takes down Landon Donovan, he walks right over and has words with him.
Donovan searing his way down the left-hand side. And his efforts have earned this free kick. This is a problem for that man, Morgan DeSantis. What can Thierry Henry conspire to produce here?
The key is, can Colin or Gonzalez get in front of DeSantis near post? It's a difficult spot for a goalkeeper.
Henry's found the back post. Camillo couldn't turn. Donovan battling for it deep inside the Roma penalty area, but it wouldn't break the All-Stars' way. Bernier's giving it away. And now Totti. Lovely switch, wasn't it, for Pjanic? And Tallo is on his way here. Junior Tallo for Roma. Help arriving Tallo, though. Only his eyes for goal. Bernier, such a splendid season with the Montreal Impact, who've been quite a delight in the MLS Eastern Conference. Henry, pure pace this time. Picked off by Bernier, but overcooked that just a little with Henry waiting. ESPN's MLS All-Star Game brought to you by AT&T. Rethink possible. And also by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live mass. If you look at the cauldron, they like to say welcome to blue hell here. Kansas City, that's an old Wizards jersey you're looking at there. Thierry Henry is going to depart. Two forwards at opposite ends of their career, exchanging pleasantries there. Henry making way for Jack McInerney. Jack Mac, as the Union fans love to call him. They've become quite accustomed to seeing him putting the ball in the back of the net. Although Taylor, of course, his run has been interrupted by that call-up to the US national team.
Well, it's difficult for a young forward like Jack McInerney, because when you've scored 10 goals in those first 15 games of the season, he hasn't scored in his last 5, particularly because he went away with the national team for 2 or 3 weeks, and you lose that rhythm. It's very important for the Union that McInerney gets on the score sheet very quickly here.
He was the first into double figures in MLS this season. Hasn't been able to add to his tally since. Chris Wondolowski. Nobody scored more goals over the last 3 years than he has.
Only 66 in 107 games, by the way.
Just the 66? Well, he tied the single-season record last year, didn't he, with 27? A record that has stood since the first year of the league, and Roy Lassiter. Wondolowski, as you look at what he's done, really consistent this season. Like his club, San Jose, has been a bit of a tail off. San Jose Earthquakes currently struggling a little. Signs they're starting to get it together under Mark Watson, the new coach. But it's been a strange year for the Earthquakes after they won the Supporters' Shield in such style last year under Frank Yallop. Free kick has gone Roma's way. Yeah, Roma were the side to watch in Serie A last season if you wanted entertainment and goals, Taylor. They scored 71, that was the third best in the division, but they conceded 56, and there are only 3 teams in all of Serie A who conceded more than them, and 2 of them went down.
I think it's going to be very interesting over the next 10 days to 2 weeks. What happens to Daniel De Rossi?
Yeah.
What happens to Osvaldo? Do they sell him? Do they move on? Do they get younger?
A lot of question marks swirling around Pablo Osvaldo. De Rossi, of course, is almost like the junior version of Francesco Totti's Rome through and through. He's reached a similar stage in his career, and that Totti was almost lured away by Real Madrid when he was De Rossi's age. Here's Bradley bursting through. Balzaretti. Mike McGee. Best goal-scoring year since his rookie season, Taylor, Mike McGee. He scored 7 as a precocious 18-year-old in New York.
If we're talking about Chicago Fire, late September, early October, Mike McGee's MVP. Very similar to the change that Dwayne De Rosario had in DC United in 2011.
Yeah.
And I know some people will say, well, a player has to make the playoffs in order to be MVP, but De Rosario made that case very hard to not make him MVP. Mike McGee's doing that right now in Chicago.
Left LA back on May the 25th after 4.5 years there, 2 championships with the Galaxy, and went home essentially to the Fire. And has hit the ground running. 7 goals in 9 games for Frank Lopez's side as Donovan swings in the cross. McGee getting back in the direction of Landon Donovan. Inch perfect too. Donovan, it's the angle for the cross. Any signs of encouragement for you, Taylor, from what you've seen from the All-Stars in the early goings here in the second half with all the changes?
Yeah, but this has been the sign right here. Roma's had a little bit more difficult time the last 10, 12 minutes because Camilo, McInerney, McGee, Wondolowski, Donovan, high pressure.
Connery Ash disappointed with himself, just overran that. Recent champions in the Gold Cup, the United States men's national team's next action will be on ESPN 2 weeks from today as the United States take on Bosnia and Herzegovina. Very possibly Miralem Pjanic will be in that team. US soccer on Wednesday, August the 14th, 2:25 on ESPN2. Also on the Watch ESPN app. It's goal scorer Alessandro Florenzi, who's made way for Marquinhos. Daniele De Rossi has come on. The junior version of Francesco Totti in the Roman Legend Stakes. De Rossi, and as Taylor mentioned, it's been almost a daily occurrence in the Italian papers and around Europe, speculating where Daniele De Rossi might go, if indeed he does. Francesco Totti has pleaded with him to stay in Rome. Ambitious, that one from Camilo from distance.
Well, and you know every U.S. soccer fan right now is throwing their remote the moment De Rossi came in for that elbow in Brian McBride in 2006.
Yep. It's the one that kept him out 4 games in the World Cup, but he came back for the final, didn't he?
It's a dilemma, though, in Roma, because he's the highest paid player in Serie A. And if you can get a good chunk of change from him from either Manchester City or Chelsea, why not?
It's a who's who of European football has been linked with De Rossi: PSG, Real Madrid, Chelsea. Man United. There's McGee. Well, that was a Totti-esque pass from Mike McGee. Wondolowski was the man it was geared towards. McGee trying to make things happen. Ash. Outside for Donovan. Not the cross that Donovan was looking for, though. Easily cut out by De Rossi. And the pressure's relieved, and now Roma will try and cook some up of their own. Bradley. 30 appearances and 1 goal in his first season with Roma for Michael Bradley. Signed a 4-year deal after moving from Chievo, another Italian side. And to look at that transfer fee now, Taylor, $4 million. What a bargain that was, Michael Bradley, this time last year. I have to feel he would go for at least twice that now on the open market, if not more.
Yeah, but I think it's been his transformation under Jurgen Klinsmann with the U.S. men's national team. I mean, Alexi Lawless and I argue about it all the time. Who's the most important player for the U.S. team? And he says it without a doubt, it's Michael Bradley.
Bradley's played more times for the U.S. than any other player over the last 7 years. 1 more than Clint Dempsey. Every minute in World Cup qualifying so far. It's Dempsey and Howard who are closest to him in terms of those appearances.
Substitution for the MLS All-Stars in the 66th.
And again, happy birthday to Michael Bradley. Returns 26 today, and it's the end of the evening for Corey Ash, and the first rookie appearance of the night, DeAndre Yedlin. What a big moment for him. He's made quite a splash in Seattle. Now it's Donovan trying to make a splash, but denied by DeSantis. Aurelian Collin lofting it. McGee! Well, Mike McGee caught hold of it. Plenty of punch behind it, but let's have a look at the previous opportunity for Donovan.
Well, you asked me about 10 minutes ago what's changed this second half. It's the high pressure from the MLS All-Stars. Roma having a tough time coming out from the back, and then how about this first time hit from Mike McGee?
Yeah, we should point out actually that the Roma goalkeeper has changed as well. Morgan DeSantis is not in. Bogdan Labont, who was the Romanian #1 and has been for several years, is now in for Roma. He's been a man who's had to be very patient. He's been a #2 for so long in his career. Labont is Tallow. Told us see this. Omar Gonzalez getting it clear. Wondolowski couldn't latch on, and Strootman takes over for Roma. Midway point of the second half here in the All-Star game. Bradley, oh, that was a beautiful ball. Tallow has got there, and Roma have made it 3 as they carve open the All-Stars defense. Quick, incisive passing, and this time it's the young Ivorian Junior Tallow who gets the finishing touch.
I think the most impressive thing about tonight's game from Roma is just the interaction between Strootman and Michael Bradley. Michael Bradley's peeling off the back line from the MLS All-Stars, but Strootman stays alive, unselfish here. But how about the movement coming out of the midfield? That is such a difficult run to pick up. He's coming from a deep line position in the midfield, and then that makes Tallow's job so much easier just getting on the end of it. Great combination play from Strootman and Bradley.
Well, it was another half clearance, wasn't it, at the back that cannoned into the goal.
Goal's a goal, Adrian.
Yeah, it was a goal. A goal scorer would always say a goal is a goal. And he'd be right. It's Tallo's goal, and the MLS All-Stars have it all to do. Camilo. Now the decision has gone against him. Up against Mehdi Benatia there. Mehdi Benatia, the Moroccan international, who has chosen to wear number 17, which is considered an unlucky number in Italy. Well, Roma giving the All-Stars a taste of what Manchester United did. Those couple of All-Star games in a row, heavy defeats against United. Labont out to De Rossi. His father is a coach of the Roma Primavera team, the youth team. John there was from Marquinhos. Roma had a Marquinhos and a Marquinhos last year, but they've solved that problem by getting rid of Marquinhos, selling him to PSG. Oh, Camilo. Again from long range. Hope you can join us for our next MLS game of the week. Coming up in about a week and a half. We'll be in Dallas for the visit of the Los Angeles Galaxy. That's Sunday, August the 11th. We'll bring it to you at 8 Eastern on ESPN2. And right after it will be the debut of ESPN FC, our new studio show. That'll be 6 days a week. Donovan, some space to break into here, but Bradley was so quickly across. Bernier. Wide to DeAndre Yedlin. He's the first rookie to appear in an MLS All-Star game since Michael Parkhurst, your teammate. Taylor did so in 2005. Low driven cross from Camilo. Camilo seeing a lot of the ball. Now Gonzalez. Now one of those centre-back wanting to be a centre-forward moments, Taylor.
Yeah, but to go back to Yedlin, we called his games in the Under-20 World Cup, and I think the biggest bright spot in that World Cup for Tab Ramos was DeAndre Yedlin at right back. I think he has a huge future. And I'm not surprised that the commissioner in 2013, one of his picks, is a homegrown player, because now we've seen him with the LA Galaxy, the New York Red Bulls, FC Dallas, and now the first homegrown player for the Seattle Sounders. That's where the importance of finding young players early on now helps rosters in MLS.
He's the third youngest ever to play in an MLS All-Star game, behind Freddie Adu and Juan Agudelo. And a former protege of Caleb Porter. This time at Akron. DeAndre Yedlin. We're well inside the final 20 minutes. And no signs of a comeback yet from the All-Stars. Three players starting tonight from Sporting Kansas City. Only one is left out there. And only three from the last 7 home teams in the All-Star game had started. Kyle Beckerman in 2009 and Thierry Henry and Tim Ream a year later for New York. This fabulous stadium that's been open just a little over 2 years now. April of 2011, or rather June of 2011, we were here for the opener. And it's become such a tough place to come and get a result in the league. Sporting Kansas City have become a permanent fixture, it seems, at the top of the Eastern Conference. Colin diving in there. Bernier's ball picked off. Well, not a great night so far for MLS, Taylor, but it has been a very interesting week, isn't it, for the league, and a good week, you'd have to say.
Well, you've brought up those MLS All-Star games with Manchester United in 2010, 2011. This isn't a statement of what U.S. soccer is about in MLS. I mean, look at this week. Columbus Crew were sold from $65 million plus. That includes a stadium. DC United is on the verge of having their own stadium. And what people need to remember at home, right now this second half, the MLS All-Stars have 5 forwards on the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Roma's a team. They've got players playing positions. They've got a formation. They're used to it. This is what it's supposed to be, a showcase for the fans, and that's all it is.
The referee's viewpoint of Francesco Totti. A bit of verbal jousting there with Aurelian Collin. Can never dial down those competitive juices. Aurelian Collin as Totti swings it in. De Rossi's header. Well, he was unmarked. Romando was in the right place.
There's a perfect example when you have 5 forwards defending on a set piece. We're not supposed to be back there.
I remember you doing your fair share as DeAndre Yedlin with the inverted back pass there to Romando. Can the All-Stars give this big crowd something to cheer here? A night that really seemed unthinkable only 7 or 8 years ago. The fact that we'd be here talking about a sellout for an MLS All-Star game in a facility like this.
Well, I remember in 2002, I had just come back from Germany and we're playing. And obviously my family's in St. Louis, and it's the first game my mom comes to. And after the game, she looked at me and said, "You came back for this?" 4,200 fans in Arrowhead.
It's one of those Wednesday nights at Arrowhead. I think I remember it, Taylor.
Well, and I thought Don Garber said it best. I mean, in 2010, Sporting Kansas City was playing in a baseball stadium. If anyone can do it, if Kansas City can do it, then anyone can do it. And I think the new ownership in Columbus, a new stadium with new ownership in D.C., maybe there's hope for a new stadium in New England.
One of the great turnarounds in the history of professional sports in America is how Don Garber framed it. I don't think he's far wrong. It's a good cross. Coming in towards the head of Camilo. That was McInerney making things happen. Camilo Sanvezo, to give him his full name. His 3rd year with Vancouver is Camilo. 80 appearances and 30 goals already that he's bagged in those 3 years. Corner for the All-Stars. No real pressure on Bradley, though, able to take it away. Now the break is on, and Tallo is on his way. Junior Tallo. The Yedlin across to meet him. Tallo with the angle ball. Strootman almost got there. It was acrobatic from Nick Romando to prevent him from doing so. Action quickly switching to the other end. Jack Mack on the ball, but there's Leandro Castan, the Brazilian centre-back. Totti has really put on a show, isn't he? Rolling back the years as he's done seemingly every season. You think it might be his last? Lots of people in Rome are worried that this year might actually be his last. You talked about it, Marco Di Vaio, his good friend. Spoke to him at some length about coming to MLS last year. Possibility that intrigued Francesco Totti, I think was his words, but so tied to that city. He is that city, the city of Rome.
Would you be shocked in the new stadium 2016-17? There's not a statue outside of it?
Yeah, there should be, or at least a fountain. It is the city of fountains, as is this one actually, Kansas City, but Totti, if he'll still be playing, that new stadium is not due to open until 2016. Gianluca Caprari is going to come on here for Tallo. Pretty decent outing for Junior Tallo, wasn't it? As Caprari comes on, another player who's come back from a spell in the second division. Actually, he was with Pescara last year. He got relegated. Totti. Picked off by Colin. All the way through from Camillo. There's Caprari. Torresidis. McGee able to pick it off, but they've won it right back. Have Roma. Colin had to be firm with the challenge. Now Camillo. Bradley across to meet him. Camillo going on a slaloming run. Colin is still out there. I think Peter Vermees is going to be true to his word. I think Colin is going to go the full 90 minutes. DeAndre Yedlin. Omar Gonzalez. Going to be an interesting next few weeks, isn't it, for Omar Gonzalez? I'll come back to that because the cross is coming in. Oh, and Lamont seemed to be in two minds. Maybe he had it covered. Yedlin was crashing in to meet it.
It's a good ball, though, back post, because you have Chris Wondolowski, Yedlin coming in late out of the midfield. Unlucky for the MLS All-Stars. But you bring up an interesting point about Omar Gonzalez, and I take that to the LA Galaxy. I am extremely shocked that on July 31st, we still don't have a third designated player there yet.
Right. To talk earlier in the season, would they make Omar Gonzalez that third designated player? There's seemingly a reluctance to do so at league level, isn't it? But what lies in his future, Taylor? What does he need to do? Because he is going to be heading towards the last 6 months of his contract within the space of the next few days.
Well, I don't think he has to change anything. He has to continue his play under Jurgen Klinsmann for the U.S. national team, but numbers don't lie, and the record since 2011 with Omar Gonzalez in that lineup is remarkable.
Yeah.
And so I asked then LA Galaxy, you have a third DP slot. You don't know that, you know, Frank Lampard doesn't come. Why not make Omar Gonzalez that third DP?
Well, Yedlin is a little talking to here. 16 appearances, 1 goal. And 1 assist in league play for DeAndre Yedlin with the Seattle Sounders. Gonzalez They're ahead of Totti, but Roma again so quick to win it back. Gonzalez is another who's played every minute in World Cup qualifying for the US in this cycle. McGee. It's getting a little chippy out there. Michael Bradley just stepping in to pull things down with Mike McGee, former teammates in New York. Conversation still continuing. Marquinhos has been booked. Amazing to think back that 1 year of Michael Bradley with what was then the Metro Stars. He led the team in playing time that season as an 18-year-old. Remains the youngest to do so in MLS history. That was under his father, of course, Bob Bradley. Now Wondolowski, oh, to Yedlin! Oh, Yandri Yedlin had a golden opportunity to give the crowd something to savor.
But this is what U.S. soccer fans are drooling over with Yedlin going forward. It's his understanding. Look, watch this. He continues to use run on the inside. Instead of overlapping on Wondolowski, he opens up his space right here. He's got all the physical tools to be a special outside fullback. Great run forward.
And well found, wasn't he, by Wondolowski's little back heel. Now, is there an opportunity here? It's a fierce enough drive from Bernier, but it was always curling wide. Another switch here, and it'll be the departure of Francesco Totti.
Substitution for AS Roma.
The man who symbolizes his city. The man who is a living legend leaves the scene.
How about the show he put on in the first half?
And we saw fireworks at half-time, didn't we? But fireworks of the footballing kind from Francesco Totti.
I think he played the first half with a martini and a cigar in his hand.
Our time running out for the All-Stars. Just once have they been shut out, and that was that 4-0 defeat to Manchester United 2 summers ago. Back to Labonte. Roma working towards the start of their season, which will begin on August the 25th. They play their big derby against Lazio pretty early on as well, in week 4, but I know their Boston-based president, Jim Polata, has targeted the Champions League first and foremost, Taylor, isn't he? Is what Roma need to get back into.
Yeah, the two things he told me before the game were to get back in Champions League as soon as possible. But then that stadium in 2016, 2017, that's where he's going to leave his mark.
Oh, it's whipped in by Camilo, and some acrobatics from Castan. Towering Brazilian centre-back. He won the Copa de Libertadores with Corinthians just a year ago, Castan.
We've seen the last 2 or 3 corners from Camilo not get past that near post with Gonzalez and Collin. Get it over that near post.
Well, right on cue, Taylor, but Balzaretti was there to meet it. Here's Yedlin. Lovely turn from Wondolowski. A smooth drag back from the San Jose man, but his shot was blocked. Now Ricci. And a distraught Tony Beltran, who's also going to go the distance, it appears, the RSL man. One minute of stoppage time, we're told here at Sporting Park. Now Donovan, bit of space. Well, McInerney was his target, couldn't find him. Retrieved by Omar Gonzalez. MLS Defender of the Year 2 years ago. There's Omar Gonzalez, and then to come back from that devastating injury last year. Colin down the line for Beltran. Beltran's endeavours rewarded with a free kick. Well, Strootman really didn't like it. Still staying competitive right to the last kick of the ball, the Dutch international. And this could be the last chance for the All-Stars to get on the board. One of the league's set-piece specialists, Camilo, standing over it. And it comes, and there is the goal for the All-Stars. It's Omar Gonzalez. He was the MLS Cup MVP back in December, and he's got the MLS All-Stars on the board here against Roma. Camilo's free kick doing the trick. Gonzalez doing the rest.
Well, and this service tonight from Camilo's been hit or miss, but this is a perfect ball. Perfect ball and whipped in with pace. And this is a simple finish for a player the caliber of Omar Gonzalez. When a ball is whipped in with that pace, that kind of bend, it is a simple finish to get on the end of.
His third All-Star game. Gonzalez giving the Cauldron and the citizens of Kansas City something at least to smile about. And it is pretty much the last effort of a game. Roma were handsome winners here. Goals early on in each half doing the trick. And MLS All-Stars coming back and at least preventing the shutout. Omar Gonzalez header, leaving us with a final scoreline of MLS All-Stars 1, Roma 3. What is next for Daniel De Rossi? We shall have to wait and see. Kevin Strootman with a starring role here. Let's go for their thoughts now to the guys in the studio, led by Max Brados. Max.
Thank you, Adrian. A nice goal for cosmetic purposes for the MLS All-Stars. First goal by an LA Galaxy player there from Omar Gonzalez. First time a Galaxy player scored since 2003 when Carlos Ruiz did it. That's not the story here. The story is Roma, who did a comprehensive job on the MLS All-Stars. And let's show you how they did it. And Casey, as you pointed out to me while we were watching, scoring goals early in both halves is a killer.
It does. It makes a huge difference. All your game plan coming out at halftime just goes out the window. And Roma did a tremendous job at the beginning of both halves of being very direct, breaking down the defense, little 1-2 passes, getting in behind. Okay, maybe a little bit of luck on the finishes, but it's just too easy. These are tap-ins. These are goals that great teams don't miss. And you just see when they have an opportunity to hit you, they hit you quick and they hit you decisively.
You can still see the smoke from the fireworks at halftime. That was from Alessandro Florenzi and then Junior Tallo.
Yeah, and a nice little through ball from Michael Bradley. Fear not, all is not lost. It's not like we should cancel the second half of the MLS season or anything like that. We talked about this. This is a collection of MLS All-Stars. And usually what happens in an all-star situation, you get together, you say, this is how we'd like to play. And sometimes it goes off well, sometimes it doesn't go well. Tonight, it didn't go well. Does that mean this is the end of MLS, the end of American soccer? No, but it's not a great message to send, but it was still a great party.
Oh, there's a silver lining, but it really wasn't a good day. Hard to defend the MLS All-Stars. We saw Michael Bradley very quickly there. How good was he on this night?
Yeah, Mike had a great game. He definitely kind of controlled the midfield a little bit. There's a few times where he was able to play that really cool killer pass, but then what he did so well was just make sure he connected with guys. Just make sure he kept that flow going, and that is what Roma does. Midfield is 1, 2, 3, touch right in the middle, and then they hit you on the break, and they score their goals out of it.
And the crowd here got 87 minutes of Francesco Totti. So those who came to see Roma got quite a treat. Right now, Monica Gonzalez standing by with the Volkswagen MVP from the All-Star game.
Thank you. I'm here with David Dunlap, who will present the Volkswagen MVP All-Star Trophy.
On behalf of Volkswagen, I'd like to present the All-Star MVP Trophy to Alessandro Florenzi.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Alessandro. Max, back to you.
Thank you, Monica. Who had Alessandro Florenzi in our pool for MVP? Was that you?
Not I.
No? Deserving winner? All right, time now for the Allstate Good Hands save. And let's take a look at it. And it came in the second half. A great opportunity here for Landon Donovan, but the Romanian Bogdan Loban denying him as we see Francesco Totti. The ball was spilled here.
It was good work, too. Good defensive work. You love to see a guy up top who comes back defensively. Okay, Landon Donovan didn't score. Nice little cutback here. I thought when Landon Donovan came into the game, individually, he provided a spark. He was active. He was doing things defensively and in the attack that did change the complexion a little bit for the MLS All-Stars.
He put a nice slide on it. Casey, is there any way to defend this effort from the MLS All-Stars?
Well, I mean, this is a very good Roma team they're playing against, a team that has aspirations of Champions League. They're pretty sure that they're not going to challenge for the Scudetto, but I think they have a good chance of maybe another cup. They're a very good cup team. They lost in the final last year to their arch rivals Lazio. So this is a team that's making moves. They're bringing in players like Strootman for $23 million. They're not sitting on their hands. They're trying to go do something big.
They had a bad game. It's not like they shamed the league or anything. Tomorrow they'll get up and they'll go back to their MLS teams and get on with the work.
Fun to see Roma play. They're a Serie A team that likes to push. You think of Italian soccer, you think defensive tactics. Not on this day. When we return, we'll hand out a trophy to... A year ago, Roma got to win football in Fenway. A year later, here in the United States, they'll walk away with a trophy. For the presentation, let's send it down to Taylor Twellman.
All right, it's time for the presentation of the 2013 AT&T MLS All-Star Game Trophy with Commissioner Don Garber and AT&T's Nancy Garvey. Don?
Thank you very much. And Taylor, thanks for all your help. And most importantly, to all the fans here in Kansas City, thank you for all your support for your club and for our All-Stars this week. I want to thank all of our guys who've had a busy week, particularly those guys coming back from national team duty. And I want to thank our friends from AS Roma, Jimmy Pilata, and his board for being a part of all of our festivities. Great game, a great club. So Nancy, if you'd be so kind and hold up the AT&T All-Star Trophy, present it to Francesco Totti, the captain of AS Roma.
Come here, bud.
Comforting to know that the All-Star Trophy will be in a trophy case in Rome. And deserve it for Roma that were clinical on this day as they beat the MLS All-Stars 3-1. And then a photo op, and this is a great moment, guys, really, as a team. I mean, they're getting ready for the season, but to win a trophy against a team that had 21,000 plus a record here is a nice achievement.
Well, what happens when you come into a game like this and you are Roma or you're Chelsea or you're Man U, your management is telling you, guys, go in, represent the club well. And that's exactly what Roma did. They came in, they've been working hard, it's preseason, but they came in and did an excellent job for the club Roma and presented themselves excellently to the American public.
Okay, time now for the Adidas final stats. And this is what we got. And keep in mind, the United States did not get a shot on goal till the 64th minute. So they got some late, but it was already well out of reach by that point, 2-0. And the stats not very telling on how comprehensive Roma was on this day. Alejandro Moreno's here. Would like to get your thoughts on what you saw. You were calling the game in Spanish. How did you see it?
Well, first of all, I roll a lot of my R's. I did that very well.
Bravo.
Aside from that, what I took away from this is watching Francesco Totti play tonight. Totally different level. It's one of those guys that when you see on the field, you know he's a different class player.
We'd have liked to see the MLS All-Stars win. A nice backup plan is one of our own. Michael Bradley was victorious. He is standing alongside Monica Gonzalez.
Michael, how do you sum up your first MLS All-Star experience?
No, it was a great night. You know, for us, this was a good game. You know, I think that as we move along in our preseason, the games keep getting better, the games keep getting faster, and so you know, for us, this was a good test. You know, I thought the atmosphere was great, and so in all ways, it was a good night.
What can you tell us about the budding partnership with your new teammate Kevin Strootman?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought as a team we you know, found a good way of moving together, playing with each other, you know, but still being hard to play against and closing down the other team. And so, like I said, it's still early in our preseason. We're still trying to, you know, get some fitness, move ourselves along. But I think this was a good step.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Max, back to you.
Roma finished 6th in the Serie A, but serious signs that they might be on their way to closing that gap. We're taking a break and wrap things up from Kansas City when we return.